name is Anand Gupta. Presently, I am the Honorary General Secretary of Builders Association of India. I am also be honored as a Vice President of Remaking of Mumbai Federation. I myself is a developer and contractor. We have got 4 stalwarts here. First is Mr. Dharmesh Jain. He himself is a big town planner, town executor, town developer, real estate developer. To his credit, he has got a number of projects in and around Bombay and different part of the country. Presently, he is also having the honor to be the Vice President of CREDAI, which is an association of all the real estate and developers in this country. He is going to give us an idea how do we make this rapid urbanization, this is the housing problem which has arisen because of rapid urbanization, and he is going to give us ideas what changes if we make in the government policy, what changes we make in a land use, and he is going to highlight on that.
Friends, for starters, I think we all need to first congratulate Lalit Bhai on holding this fantastic conference, and let us give Lalit Bhai a very big hand. Lalit Bhai, 2 demands from the industry and from me personally. One, you should take a seminar on, how do you keep your fighting spirit on, and you should write a book on, how you've kept fighting all your life. I think it will be very, very interesting reading, and I would be the first person to pick up that book. So, Lalit Bhai is a very special person, not because he's sitting here or he's organized this. I think how to keep your chin up in any adversity, how to keep fighting, how to, come out of any situation and, have an absolute positive attitude. Lalit Bhai epitomizes that, and I think all of us youngsters need to look up to Lalit Bhai. Friends, I just thought before I get into my presentation, it is important to put things in perspective as far as real estate in India is concerned. We all know India is a fantastically growing economy, probably one of the first countries to come out of the recession that the world saw in 2008-9 has been India. Probably China and India are the 2 examples. China, except for China, really nobody else understands how they do it. But at least India is an open book, and people understand that, we've been able to come out of the recession that the world saw over the last couple of years. And I've always felt that there are 2 ways of looking at India. Some years back, we have a lot of foreign tie-ups, and a lot of people come and visit us, and one of the first questions they ask is why are the airports the way they are, and why are the roads the way they are. Today probably the 5 leading airports of the country have been or are on the way to modernization. But the great thing about India is there are 100 more that need modernization. Golden Quadrangle, which connects the 4 major cities in India, is the largest road project in the world, and it is connecting only 4 of India's major cities. There are 400 more that need to be connected. So there are 2 ways of looking at India. One, that is this real? Everybody comes here with hearing a story that 8% growth, and but when you see on the ground, you still see slums and you still see dearth of infrastructure. But I look at it this way, that because there is so much more to be done in India, India will keep growing over the next 50 years. So that's the right perspective of looking at India. It's a country where you cannot go wrong. We have the youngest population in the world. I don't think that aspect of India is really highlighted enough. But we have the youngest population in this world. And it is important for anybody looking at India to really go down to, and as I think urban souls, I think it's important to really go into smaller towns. The knowledge, the way knowledge has penetrated into every small town, or for that matter village in India, is just amazing. That has led to an aspiration, and every Indian today is aspiring for a better life. And I think through conferences like this, we should venture into how we can create a catalyst to usher in the growth that India is desperately dying for. Friends, just one other aspect. every 10 years, it is my belief that the torchbearer for the country changes. So every 10 years, you have somebody who takes up the baton and says, now I am going to lead the next round of growth for the country. In the 80s, according to me, Rajiv Gandhi opened up the country for the first time, and the first 10 years, probably, that initial process, the fiscal corrections, that brought in the growth. In the 90s, industry opened up, and the first round of delicensing of industry and first round of industrial growth brought in the next round of growth in this country. So from probably 2.5%, 3%, we went to 4 and 5% in the 80s and 6 and 7% in the 90s. Over the last 10 years, IT and telecom have been the two sectors which have given growth. But we've already reached penetration in probably both these. Telecom, we have 550 million connections in this country already. So probably we need to ask, what is going to be the next torchbearer for this country? I have absolutely no hesitation, not because I am from the real estate sector. I have absolutely no hesitation that the next round of growth is going to come out of housing and infrastructure. We need to realize that all of us sitting here are going to be the next torchbearer of this country. And probably it's a sector which has the potential. Most other sectors have given growth for 10 years. It is a sector which has potential to give growth to this country for at least the next 3 decades. I don't see any other sector where when you look into 10 years, it looks exciting. When you look into 15 years, it looks exciting. When you look into 20 years, it still looks exciting. That is how we need to look at ourselves. That's how we need to ramp up ourselves. That is how we need to, look at the responsibility the country is going to bestow on ourselves. It is useless to say that this fellow is not doing that and that fellow is not doing that. We have to make people work and we have to bring in the changes because India needs the next round of growth and it is only going to come out of infrastructure and housing. That is the responsibility that we have. Friends, going forward with my presentation, we all know, when I said the next round of growth will come out of this, probably this highlights it. The housing shortage in this country, it ranges through various estimates between 27 million units to about 36 to 40 million units. I have taken a safe figure in between at 30 million units. There are about 10 countries in the world which have a population greater than the housing shortage that we have. So that is the enormity of the task that we are looking at. Again, obviously a majority of that is in the LIG and EWS sector. About 23% of urban population resides in slums, and overall, if you take Mumbai as an example, in urban centers it is a lot more. In Mumbai, about 55% of Mumbai's population live in slums. And the shortage is across. Urban areas occupy about 2.3% of India's landmass and support about 30% of India's population. If you will take the top 10 cities, they occupy only 0.2% of India's landmass and support about 5% of India's population. Half of the GDP growth comes out of this 2.3% of India's landmass. So that is how skewed development is at this point of time. Clearly, when you look into the future, I think one thing that talk to World Bank, talk to the International Monetary Fund, take what happened in Davos this year. One thing everybody across the globe agrees that one country which looks set for sustained growth of around 8% over the next couple of decades is India. So you clearly are looking at sustained growth. The urban population is only going to increase. We have about 285 million people in urban India. It's going to go on to 360 million in 2010, 470 million in 2020, and 550 million in 2025. Again, so from the level we are, it's going to further double over the next 15 years. Again, clearly the skills are changing. As I said, across the country, the skill set is improving by the day. And another way of again looking at India is that 8% population is constantly moving up the ladder. We have 1,000 million people, and every day as we talk, somebody's climbed the ladder. And every year, people are climbing the ladder. Clearly, there is a shift in the work skills, as I said, across the country. Clearly, that is increasing intent across the country. clearly that is increasing a desire in every young Indian to aspire for a better life. Again, a rough estimate on the investment required in the housing sector over the next decade or so is estimated at 4 lakh crores. I tried it with a calculator. I didn't find a calculator which actually fills in all the figures. Looking at regulatory, since too many people from the regulatory sector are not here, I would, instead of going into this detail, I'll just give you a small perspective. For the last 10-12 years, I've had the good fortune of representing the industry in front of the finance minister. Normally, we are giving about 10-15 minutes where we make our points and come back. This year, CI got 1 hour, FICCI got 1 hour, CREDAI got 2 hours. The finance minister started with an opening remark that this is the sector that I see driving growth over the next decade in India. And I am here to listen. Please say whatever you have to say. I am there to support the industry. And believe me, after 1 hour 15 minutes, we didn't know what to speak because we were used to 15-minute presentations. But we had KPMG doing all our presentations, and the finance minister felt that it was the most precise and the best presentation any industry association had given him. Coming back to the point, I think there is serious intent. For the first time across the country, I see a real win-win-win. The center desperately wants to push housing. The state, for its own urban constituency, for addressing the need of the people, clearly wants to push housing. Most developers today have ramped up their scales to do volumes. The question is of putting all this together, putting the regulatory framework together, putting the mindset of the institutions together and coming up with a solution where we can ramp up volumes. I think the country is dying for volumes. Every constituent is dying for volumes, and I'm sure within this year of 2010 we'll find solutions. As I said, but the solutions are fairly simple. We need single window clearances. Today, if we file an income tax return, which is a direct implication, my chartered accountant is allowed to, I go with an audited balance sheet and it is accepted by EA. I don't see why a chartered engineer cannot do the same thing. I think we have fantastic architects in the country who have a great moral values, who have the necessary responsibilities. They should be allowed. There is clearly a solution. I'm sure we'll be able to push it. Again, title insurance is an issue. Financial incentives to new technology. We need to adopt new technology. Clearly work on urban extensions. I'll take that up a little more. Friends, the last point is, I think, the most vital. Somewhere we've shied away from taking up the topic of FAR and FSI in India. Clearly, it is time to start a debate whether we need to relook at FAR consumption across urban centers. Clearly, Bombay is dying for more FSI. In private, whenever I have had discussion, I have not had any person being able to convince me or put forward with an argument that FAR should not be increased. I think it is time. We are a democratic civil society where we need to take up this discussion. Bombay, I think, desperately needs more FAR. Most urban centers in India need more FAR. Yes, we have to address infrastructure, but clearly both can go hand in hand. I have a solution. I'll present it a little later. Again, housing finance companies need to come up with, there is a serious problem with funding LIG and EWS, and clearly we need to introduce microfinancing. There is a lot of talk that this sector needs to be supported, but when you really go on ground, because there is a problem with the way a rickshaw driver tomorrow wants a 5 lakh rupee loan, because there is no consistency of income, there is a problem of funding. So we need to innovate in funding LIG and EWS. Clearly, the first home buyer needs to be incentivized. We have clearly requested the government to look at this sector. Clearly, again, we have had an SEZ movement over the last 10 years. Clearly, according to me, SRZ movement needs to start, where we create special residential zones in and around urban agglomerations. Clearly, those are going to be the next nerve centers where growth can come in. Again, on the financial side, encouraging innovative mechanisms to remove slums and SRA scheme. Again, for slums, I have a specific suggestion which I am going to take up later on. Rental housing scheme is a fantastic scheme introduced by MMRDA for the first time in India. You might look at a situation where we can tell a slum dweller, I have an alternative. Don't make more slums. Otherwise, rhetorics will not work. Allowing additional FSI, FAR by paying premium. Again, the problem of infrastructure can be clearly tackled by giving additional FSI with a premium, so that this whole talk of infrastructure is not there. That's why FAR should not be increased, and FAR is not increasing because infrastructure is not there. I think there is a solution there. Clearly, external commercial borrowings, I failed to understand this. We took this up very strongly with the finance minister. Today you are allowing FDI in Press Note 2 projects. So whichever project is above 500,000 square feet or above 25 acres, you are allowing FDI into those projects. If you will see, 90% FDI over the last few years has been structured finance. So you are allowing expensive funding to come in, but you are not allowing ECBs, which is a much cheaper mode of funding in this sector. I really don't see any logic to it. We are pushing very hard, and I'm sure we'll be able to convince the government on ECBs in the housing sector. Clearly, ATIB incentive needs to be extended. We need accelerated housing, and that's another thing that we are pleading with the government. Again, MMR over the last year has been the shining star in India. Clearly, when the whole country was in the grip of recession, the whole world was in the grip of recession, suddenly there was one region on the globe which was the shining point, where demand was. I'll give you an example. Clearly, my feeling about India is, India over the next 2 decades is never going to have a demand issue. It's going to have price issues. Whenever we as developers cross the pocket of the actual user, there is going to be a blip. Clearly, there was no recession in India. Clearly, developers went beyond the pocket of actual users. In its peak, last year, we reduced prices in Mulund by 43%. And probably we sold better than any good time. So demand is there. Clearly, the issue was price. So wherever in the country people have addressed price, they've got fantastic bookings. So let's be sure about one thing. In India, demand is not an issue. Let's be less greedy and you'll always have demand. Clearly, if you'll see, most metros, supply is even today much lesser than the demand. So, as I said, demand is not an issue as far as India is concerned. Land cost is a serious issue. Today, across the country, if you will take land as a A, the price ranges in most metros between 2,000 to 50,000, and actually speaking, that 50,000 can be any number. So, clearly, land is an issue. We need to realize, as far as, say, an MMR is concerned, Delhi for the same population has 2,000 square kilometers. Bombay is 434 square kilometers. So we need to look at Mumbai innovatively and come up with innovative solutions. So clearly, as I said, if you will consistently see, as far as MMR is concerned, demand has always been higher than whatever supply we've been able to generate. Now, what are the solutions? Ultimately, if we have a finite land supply, how do we increase? So clearly we need to increase FSI in U1, U2 zones. Ultimately, whether it is no development zones or urbanization 1 zone or 2 zone, or these were created as buffers for the next plan. And clearly it is time to look at the next plan, because we really don't have enough stock. So U1, U2 zones, we clearly need to look at that as one of the key push areas for affordable housing. Remove height restrictions in U1, U2 zone. Conversion of Z zones to U2 zones wherever there is potential. Gowden areas need to be extended from 200 meters to 500 meters. Allowing developers additional FSI by paying premium, which goes into a dedicated infrastructure fund. As I said, that's part of my recommendation, which I'm again taking up in detail. And wherever there is rationalization of DC rules there is a lot of disparity between DC rules of various corporations within the MAR, and we really need to look at these disparities. Everybody is talking about slum rehabilitation. The Honorable President of India actually in her budget speech mentioned that the government should create a plan with which over the next 5 years, I would say probably 10 years, India can be slum free. But there has been intent. I don't think there has been enough result. Can this be a solution? If you actually study slum rehabilitation, you will realize that the critical problem is transit. Ultimately, how slum rehabilitation operates in India is that people from slums are shifted into transit camps. Now, if there are 1,000 dwelling units, you have 25 transit camps. It is mathematics that 25 needs 20 cycles. Clearly, as a city, don't we need to think, if we create 500 density transit camp in 50 different locations across the city, 25,000 transit camps if we create, it will cost the state about 500 crores. I can guarantee that it is going to be self-sufficient if you lease that back to developers. But if you do that, annually, there is a mistake here, annually you can rehabilitate 6 lakh people. So in 10 years, you can actually make Mumbai slum-free. Similarly, if it is adopted across the country, there is a solution, but we need to innovate and we need to go into the problem and tackle the problem head on. So as I said, the cost would be about 500 crores, but clearly if you lease this back to here, the government will actually end up getting substantial profits from this. Now, let us look at how can we tackle infrastructure as an issue. Mumbai on an annual, let me give you an example. Mumbai annually consumes about 5 crore square feet. One suggestion is that the incentive FSI give, here we have suggested 0.5, we can actually go up to 1, give incentive FSI of 0.5 to the developer where you collect a premium from the developer and give him incentive FSI. If you do that, annually you can have 2.5 crore square feet coming through this medium in Mumbai alone. Annually, Mumbai can collect about 4,000 crores if you take an average price of about 1,500 rupees per square feet. Across the state, if you do this, annually you can collect 10,000 crores. For infrastructure projects, you get a matching grant from JNRUM. Every year you can do 20,000 crore rupees worth of infrastructure project within Mumbai. I don't think even today Bombay does that much. This one point has a solution. I think it is critical that we think innovatively. It is critical that we put Mumbai and Maharashtra on a drawing board and say these are solutions available. We've been really fighting with the government that till all constituents don't sit on one table and think solutions, solutions will not come in. But as I said, solutions are available within the system. Today, if you will see clearly, take the civic budget or the state budget, you will realize that one of the key constraints is resource. As I said, there are solutions available within, we need to innovate. Remember friends, 20,000 crores, so 5 billion worth of infrastructure projects annually Mumbai can do or Maharashtra can do with this one solution. Again, I'm sure you all have heard various speakers say that MMR regions population is going to double by 2025 or 2030. If it is going to double from this scale, already when you tell people it is 15 million or 16 million, people get a heart attack. Now it is going to go on to 30 million. The point is, where is this next round of growth going to go? Probably 3 regions where it will go is Panvel, Kalyan Dombivli and Visai Virar Bhayandar. Shouldn't we plan ourselves today? One great thing that probably Delhi has done for itself is, it has 6 alternatives within its 30-minute radius. So you have Gurgaon, you have Noida, you have Upper Noida, you have Manesar, you have Ghaziabad, you have Jaipur Road, you have Agra Road. So it has 6 alternatives within its 30-minute radius. We need to realize that Bombay is a linear city. But is there a solution? Definitely there is a solution. Just think of this, that if you create high-speed train connectivity to these 3 regions, Panvel, Kalyan, Virar, clearly today, let's not go up to Maglev also. Within the existing corridor, you have high-speed connectivity, last slide. High-speed connectivity, and you can connect these locations. So the point is, friends, clearly we need to think where the next round of growth of Mumbai is going to go and create high-speed connectivities to these regions, create growth centers there So what BKC did to central Mumbai, we need to create growth centers in these regions and come up with innovative solutions. Friends, once again, one last point which has been my burning desire all my life, we need to look at development as a process differently. We are doing something great thing. We need to realize that God made the earth. Everything else that happened with it after that has been done by a developer. So every brick laid has been put by a developer. We are doing something very vital for this country. Let us be proud of what we are doing. Let us be the next solution maker for this country. Let's be the next torchbearer for this country. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.